Hello and welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday out there. And these are the storm reports from yesterday from the SPC, the Storm Prediction Center. And you can see a large, violent tornado was on the ground late last night here, late in the evening, early in the overnight here across portions of far northeastern Arkansas near the Jonesboro area, where there were reports of flipped cars, even some uprooted trees here, some roof damage, some homes being damaged, and also here a lot of power outages across those zones, and a lot of hail reports as well. We've gotten hail reports from that supercell that was in far northeastern portions of Arkansas that produced that large wedge tornado of around up to softball or even grapefruit size hail being reported. Hail in excess of 4 to even up to 5 inches in diameter being reported with that storm. So very incredible here, and then did weaken as it got down into southwestern portions here of Tennessee and northern Mississippi. But very impressive supercell thunderstorm last night here across that zone. For today's risk, the day one categorical outlook from the Storm Prediction Center does show a slight risk zone of severe weather across southern portions of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, into south central portions of Mississippi, and southwestern portions here of Alabama, with a marginal risk zone across central and eastern Texas, getting up into northern and central portions here of Arkansas and much of the southeastern coastal states there, from coastal the coastal Carolinas down through south central Georgia, southern portions and central portions there of Alabama and northern Florida, including the Florida Panhandle as well. The tornado risk today here is a 2% risk here, and that does include portions of southern Arkansas, northern portions and central portions here of Louisiana, far eastern and northeastern here part of Texas, and then much of central and southern Mississippi, including the Jackson, Mississippi area, getting back toward Shreveport, and then down toward Mobile, Alabama as well, into southwestern portions of Alabama, far northwestern Florida Panhandle, with the wind and hail risk zones here kind of going along with that marginal and slight risk zone as well. Today, temperatures will be rising into the 70s, even some lower 80s across just south of this surface boundary here that is draped across the deep south. And south of that here, destabilization will occur, especially when you have dew points rising well into the 60s. Points will be in the low to mid 70s across this zone, so some very healthy moisture levels, and that will create instability here that will be on the order of 2,000 plus joules per kilogram, especially into southern portions of Mississippi, into Louisiana and East Texas, where there's going to be a lot of destabilization with the atmosphere here as we head into late this afternoon and this evening. I'll show you that here on the reflectivity. You can see some ongoing thunderstorms across the deep south here as we head into the afternoon here, and that will continue to impede southward here. These will kind of propagate its way southeastward here with time, and getting into that here unstable and moist air mass here south of that surface boundary, kind of south of that warm front, if you will. And some scattered severe thunderstorms are possible down and through south central Mississippi, getting over into southern and southwestern Alabama, and into portions here of Louisiana as well. That'll just continue to slowly sag its way south here as we head into the early evening hours, posing a risk of some damaging winds, hail, and maybe even a couple brief tornadoes as well. And then here, looking at this further to the east, here the ongoing storms late this afternoon. These will continue to kind of push to the south, kind of a loosely organized MCS or mesoscale convective system. Kind of the leading edge of that could have some scattered damaging wind and hail reports, maybe even here a brief spin-up tornado along the leading edge here with that low-level shear convergence along that front. And then this will continue to push to the south here, slowly weakening here as the diurnal heating or the heating of time of day will start to wane as the sun does start to set. And then we're going to be looking farther to the northwest. A couple of scattered and maybe widely scattered here thunderstorms will start developing in central portions of Arkansas, down into northeast Texas, northwest Louisiana, and these will start to grow upscale a little more here to kind of a little bit of an organizing cluster as we head into the overnight hours and produce some small hail and some gusty winds there as well. But the instability won't be as high here in the overnight hours as we will be having here during the day. Now, looking at the cap on the atmosphere, a little bit of a cap across southern portions of Alabama, south central Mississippi. So some of these storms could be running into that cap a little bit here and kind of weakening as they go southward into that cap, especially as we lose the heating of the day across the area as these storms kind of slowly sag their way south and southeastward here into the evening hours. The wind shear here higher across portions here of north central Mississippi, northwest and west portions here of Alabama, getting back into Arkansas. So some decent shear profiles, especially kind of overlapping in Mississippi here where that slight risk zone is, back into portions of far northern Louisiana, Arkansas region, and into portions of western Alabama, where we have instability on the order of 2,000 plus joules per kilogram, and then we have shear values of around 40 plus knots. So that will support some organizing storm clusters as we head into late today. The supercell composite, like I said, decent values, especially across the southern flank of this, kind of ahead of that MCS, and then south of that surface boundary here, we got some destabilization, a little bit of convergence along this line here, kind of a little bit of a wind shift with areas north of this boundary. Winds will be coming more out of the east, and south of the boundary winds will be coming more out of the south and southeast. So we'll see a little more turning of the winds and could have some supercell structures with some rotating storms, potentially a brief spin-up tornado as we head into late today. The Weather Prediction Center's Day 1 excessive rainfall outlook, a marginal risk for for flash flooding here with the rainfall across the deep south and mid-south areas here, with a 5 to 10% chance of flash flooding potential from south central Arkansas, northeastern portions here of Louisiana, much of the state of Mississippi, and into central and southwestern Alabama and the far northwest Florida Panhandle. Does include Little Rock, getting down toward Shreveport, Jackson, Mississippi, up toward Tupelo, getting down toward Mobile, Alabama, just south of the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa area, and getting down towards, the Tallahassee area, kind of down that way, and then towards Panama City, Florida. Now, as we head into tomorrow, another risk, kind of in the same general zones on their Day 2 categorical outlook. The Storm Prediction Center has another slight risk, very similar zones here for portions of northeastern and eastern Louisiana, far southern and southeastern Arkansas, much of south central Mississippi and southwestern Alabama, northwest Florida Panhandle. Very slow-moving boundary sagging its way southward, and then a marginal risk zone here that will kind of be covering south central Georgia into southern portions here of Alabama, northern Florida. A little tornado zone of a 2% risk here, kind of centered on central portions of Mississippi, far western and southwestern here portions of Alabama, northeastern portions of Louisiana, and far southeastern here Arkansas. And then there is a hatched risk zone of a 15% hatched significant hail risk zone across central portions of Mississippi, getting over to southwestern Alabama, back in northern and northeastern Louisiana, far southeastern Arkansas. 2-inch or larger hail, golf ball size or larger, is possible across those zones, with the hail risk kind of extending across most of the Gulf Coast states. And then that wind risk here with winds that could be up to around 70 miles per hour, kind of going along with that marginal slight risk zone as we head into tomorrow. Temperatures tomorrow with a slowly sagging southward front. You can still see here temperatures still pretty similar to today, maybe a little touch cooler in some of these western locations here across the Gulf Coast states, but still temperatures well into the 70s to near the lower 80s. And then you couple that here with dew points well into the 60s and even some lower 70-degree dew points here. And you got instability values growing once again up to near the 2,000 plus joule per kilogram range, and especially as you get back toward Texas and Louisiana. So there's a lot of fuel for these thunderstorms, these updrafts, to grow and maintain themselves here throughout the event as we head into tomorrow. So I'll see this here as we head into tomorrow, late tomorrow afternoon here. Another MCS will be ongoing across portions of north central Alabama, tailing its way back towards central portions of Mississippi, maybe even northeastern portions there of Louisiana. This will continue to kind of move southeastward very slowly here as we head through the day. So a lot of flooding rain potential as well, with all this moisture in the atmosphere, kind of breaking up as it moves to the east here, kind of semi-discrete supercells here could be developing across portions of southeastern Georgia. Got to watch that. Maybe a brief spin-up tornado there, but the tornado risk here not really focused around those areas, as the low-level shear is kind of unfavorable into portions of these areas, but still some damaging surface wind gusts and some large hail cannot be ruled out as this pushes to the east. Then along a cold front will come sweeping through as we head into tomorrow afternoon here out of Texas, Arkansas, northwest Louisiana, and along that could have a broken line of some stronger thunderstorms, and that will kind of push along those marginal and slight risk zones, posing the risk here of some damaging winds and also some large hail, maybe even a brief spin-up tornado along the wind shift here from west to east. And then this cold front will continue to move to the east and kind of lose its punch as it pushes into the far southeastern and coastal United States as we head into around midday on Monday. Now looking at the shear as we head into tomorrow afternoon, overlapping again some of the instability here, some of the lower, the boundary layer dew points. So a lot of moisture coming together, some convergence along that front, and you can see shear values again similar to today, around 40 plus knots, and that will here couple with 2,000 plus joule per kilogram instability, and you will see some updrafts here that will be exploding into the atmosphere, and you could see some pretty strong thunderstorms as we head into tomorrow. And this will continue to kind of shift to the east, and then kind of along that wind shift of that cold front, you can see here not as strong of a convergence along that front, so that's why we're only going to see some broken, widely scattered storms, not really a solid line because the convergence is not very strong, but there's just enough lift to get these thunderstorms going as we head into tomorrow evening. And then you can see the supercell composite even tomorrow a lot higher than today here, so that does support the idea of maybe a few more stronger supercellular thunderstorm structures as we head into tomorrow afternoon and evening, and that will continue into the overnight hours before weakening here into portions of Georgia. Now, the Weather Prediction Center Day 2 excessive rainfall outlook does show a slight risk zone of flash flooding with a 10 to 20% chance of flash flooding across central Georgia, back into east central portions of Alabama, with a general marginal 5 to 10% risk area flash flooding across here much of the state of Mississippi, the rest of Alabama pretty much, into Georgia, and then the western South Carolina, far southwestern portions of North Carolina, and then here a little bit of Arkansas and northeastern portions of Louisiana as well. This does include the Jackson, Mississippi area, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, getting down toward Mobile. Atlanta is in the crosshairs of that slight risk zone for flash flooding. Macon, Georgia, got to get down toward those areas here as well. Then as we head through here the next few days, as we head into early next week, this is the additional rainfall across most of the southern and southeastern portions of the United States. Another 1 to 3 plus inches could fall here, especially if you get under some couple rounds of heavier thunderstorms. And most of this is kind of going to be centered on Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, where additionally, like I said, 1 to 3 plus inches of rain cannot be here ruled out. And then even here's some much welcome news for some rainfall across northern California as another trough continues to dig down into the portions of the west coast here and move slowly to the east, and that will provide several days of some decent rainfall across portions here of northern and central California, getting up here into portions of the Pacific Northwest here when they're drought-stricken areas. So that is some good news here as well as we head through that time period. And then here as we go farther in, the 6 to 10 day temperature probability here, I'm showing well above average temperatures as another large expansive ridge develops across about 80% of the country as we head into late next week, into next weekend and the following week. And that will provide well above average temperatures, likely if not expected, across the central southern plains, getting up into the upper Midwest here, the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, and much of the East Coast into the southeast. And then here, as you can see, cooler than average temperatures across portions here of the western United States, the Pacific Northwest, getting down towards California. And then you can see drier than normal conditions expected here, or likely across the eastern here, half of the country around the Ohio Valley, the southeast and the northeast areas. And then as another trough kind of digs down and kind of intercepts this warm, moist, humid air, got to watch the potential for some more severe weather across the center of the country here from the upper Midwest, the mid-Mississippi and lower mid-Mississippi Valley to the lower Missouri Valley, getting down into the southern plains, the deep south once again here as we head into especially early next week and the following week. And you're just, in general, above average precipitation across much of the Intermountain West, the northern plains, getting back here towards the northwestern part of the Four Corners region here as well. Then as you see, the 8 to 14 day temperature probability, this goes all the way through Friday, April 29th, toward the closing days of the month. Still see that ridge dominate across much of the eastern half of the United States, with above average temperatures are likely across much of the Ohio Valley, the mid-south, getting into the upper Midwest here, the central and southern plains, and most of the eastern seaboard as well, with another trough digging down yet again here as we head toward the end of the month, which could here provide some slightly cooler than normal conditions across the Intermountain West, the Four Corners region, and into the Pacific Northwest here as well. And that precipitation here will kind of follow with that trough as it pushes from west to east across the country. So above average precipitation is more favored across the northern plains, the Great Lakes into the upper Midwest, the central plains, kind of nosing its way down here into portions of the southern plains. And then the Four Corners region into the southwest here normal to slightly below normal here precipitation, and that will kind of follow suit with that ridge as it pushes to the east across the eastern half of the United States toward the end of the month as well. And then let's look a little further. The Climate Prediction Center did put out here their week 3 to 4 temperature outlook and precipitation outlook here just yesterday. And it does show equal chances across most of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast here of below or above normal temperatures. Most favored above normal temperatures across the Four Corners into the far southern plains and the coastal, the Gulf of Mexico areas across the southern coast of the United States, with slightly below normal temperatures kind of up where that big snowstorm here did fall across portions of the northern plains, and then with that trough here to portions of the Pacific Northwest as well. And then you can see equal amounts here of, or just normal precipitation here amounts across most of the country, with generally below normal precipitation continuing across the desert Southwest into the California areas and maybe even into portions of Texas as well as we head through early portions of May. This goes all the way through May 13th here of this month. So this is kind of going into the first week or two of May as well. So kind of on average. Doesn't mean you're going to see no rainfall in Texas or no rainfall in New Mexico or Colorado, just showing your general trend for that from that April 30th to that May 13th time frame of generally slightly below to below normal precipitation with an equal chances of above or below normal precipitation across the rest of the country. So do be mindful of that. Then let's look here kind of at that period of time where I'm kind of looking at the warm up across the area. Nice spring warm up here across portions of the southern and central plains. It will only continue to amplify as we head towards the end of next week. And then as we head towards next weekend, that ridge really starts to amplify into the middle of the country. We got warm temperatures potentially all the way up toward the Canadian border, and that will here kind of, that trough will kind of deepen as we push towards the western United States toward the end of next weekend into the following week, and that could provide a focus for some severe weather across the middle of the country with potentially another outbreak looming toward the end of April, so we'll have to watch that. Especially here given the fact that we're going to have dew points rising back into the mid-60s, even some near 70-degree dew points here late next week. And then this will kind of stall out here into the southern plains and deep south as we head into Friday next week. And then as that ridge starts to amplify here and the trough starts to dig more into the southwest, we'll have a lot of moist, low-level and mid-level moisture return. And with dew points could be rising up into the upper Midwest towards the 50-degree mark into the 60s. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And then a frontal boundary will kind of kick this ridge off to the east as we head towards late next weekend or the following week, which, like I said, could provide the threat for some severe weather across the middle of the country and during that time frame, with potentially an outbreak potential across this area as we head towards the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th time frame. Kind of between the April 23rd and April 26th is kind of what I'm looking at for all this to come together here in the next week or two. But going through the rest of April, a lot of active weather still on the ballot here. You can see a lot of precipitation here, anomalies showing up around the mid-south into the southeast. A lot more precipitation up into the upper Midwest, the northern plains toward the northeast. Could have even a snowstorm, a late season snowstorm potential across the northeast. We'll talk about more of that tomorrow as more model data comes in for that. But yeah, some more snowfall potential. Don't put your shovels away in the northeast quite yet. And then, like I said, much needed rainfall across portions of California, especially northern California, central California, up into the Pacific Northwest as we head through the rest of April here. And unfortunately still around the Four Corners region into Arizona, New Mexico, and southern California, southern Nevada, southern Utah, those areas that are really strictly in that drought, the really extreme drought, unfortunately will not be getting much in the way of precipitation here as we head toward the end of the month still as well. So I do feel bad for those folks, but at least some areas in California will start to see a little bit of relief as we head toward the end of the month with regards to here moisture and precipitation. So hey, I do appreciate you guys watching my video here. Do be sure to like my video and to subscribe to my channel for more weather related content, and do leave any questions here. Do not hesitate to ask any questions here, as I can answer them below here in the comments throughout the day as well. So do remember to subscribe to my channel and like my video, and I hope everybody has a great Saturday out there.